Hi everyone, welcome back to another Shrimp Mania build video. Today we're setting up a new shrimp tank for Caridina, and this time it's going to be a little bit different. Is it going to be a little bit different? Yeah, maybe slightly different because our new tank is much bigger this time. That's probably the only difference. Okay, it's going to be a little bit different because we're going to put a massive amount of shrimplets. Literally all my baby shrimps from all my tanks going to go into that tank, and I have a very good reason to do that. I will explain it later in the video. The size of this tank is 60 cm across, 40 cm tall and 40 cm deep. This tank served me well for at least 2 years, but the soil already expired in this tank, and a few weeks ago I moved all the shrimps inside a brand new tank which I just cycled, and the shrimps doing much better in this tank. The baby survival rate is insane. I have probably about 50 babies here, they're all over the place, and this is because we have brand new soil here. pH of the water is very low. We have plenty of algae and biofilm in this tank, but before I clean this tank I need to remove all remaining babies, and I have plenty of them here. And take a look at these babies here we got from that tank. It's like a bonus shrimp. Our tank is nice and clean, and I quite like this tank. It's made out of 8mm low iron glass with minimum silicone in the corners. I just installed glass partition at the back of the tank to create a space for underground filter. I also made two little areas on either side for plants, and I made them different sizes. As you can see, this size is slightly bigger than this one. I think it's gonna look cool if they're not symmetrical. And I just prepared the plates and tubing for this setup, and I used 2 underground filter sets like that. So in one set we have 2 plates and 1 tube, so we use 4 plates and 2 tubes. And guys, let me feed them inside the tank and show you how they fit. Here you go, they fit perfectly here, and that was quite easy to make. I only had to cut 1 plate just a little bit on the side there. Before I was using my chop saw to cut these plastic plates, but now I actually found a much easier way by just using a tin snips. I already put this tank on the rack, so now we can put some soil in, and then we can fill it with the water and start our cycle. And for this setup I'm gonna use aqua soil, you guessed it, of course AD Amazonia. Also gonna sprinkle some mineral powder on top of the soil. It helps with bacteria. It's been 8.5 weeks since we set this tank up, and I'm back with an update. I know I haven't done any update yet because it wasn't anything excited to show you. I just did the water change at week 3, 50%, and I did another 50% of water change at week 6. And that's pretty much everything I've done with this tank. I haven't even cleaned the glass. You can see this tank is... You cannot see anything inside. This is the reason why I didn't clean this glass, because I did another video for you and I didn't want to spoil this tank. So today we're going to clean the glass and we're going to prepare this tank for plants, for shrimps, because in a couple of weeks I think we can add some shrimps, but now we can add some plants. So let's just clean this up, do another water change. I want to clean the filter as well, and then we can add some plants. Let's do it. Guys, take a look at our filter flow. It's almost none. So good thing about this plastic air stone, actually you can open them and clean inside, and I had a big chunk of the algae and biofilm inside. That's why we didn't have much flow. Now I clean this one and take a look at this. It's very good, so let me just put another one back and we'll see how it's worked as well. Yep, the flow is back to normal now. This was actually only an issue, the blockage of the air stone, not the UGF filter itself. But anyway, I'm gonna give it a clean, just make sure it's nice and clean. It's not too bad, the soil is very loose, that means there's not much of the waste inside. I'm just gonna give it a very quick clean, just move it around slightly, make sure all the just like a dust and muck coming out from the filter, and then we're gonna do the water change. And here I prepared some in vitro plants for our setup, and I've got some Eleatine hydropiper, some HC Cuba and Rotala bonsai. So let's plant them in. Alright, let's take a look quickly inside this tank. It's been at least 2 weeks since we added plants here. Our Bonsai is doing fantastic. It's definitely one of my favorite plant. And here HC Cuba here starts to grow as well. It's carpeting this area very well. I'm very happy about that. On this side, I'm not quite pleased with this carpeting plant we added early, hydropipa or something it's called, and I added a little bit of Elacharis mini, a dwarf hair grass as well here, just to fill the gaps. So now it's time to add some more plants here and finally prepare this tank for shrimps. And you might ask why we cycled this tank for so long. Well, mainly because we're using AD Amazonia soil, and this soil is leaching ammonia for at least 8 weeks from my experience. And this soil works really good for high-end Caridina shrimp because it's lowering the pH of the water below 6. It also releases a lot of nutrients into the water column, which is very beneficial for the plants and also beneficial for the algae to grow, like a dust algae which is growing on the side of the glass. And this soil is also lasts for quite a long time, for at least 2 years, which is very good as well. Guys, I just received Anubis plants in the post. And they're huge. I've never seen such big Anubis plants before. So let me show you. Take a look at them, guys. They are huge. This one, take a look. I don't know, maybe it's normal for Anubis, but I normally used before very small, tiny Anubis, like on this coconut, sorry, on this choala wood. Anyway, guys, it's gonna work just fine. We're gonna attach it to this piece of wood. It's called Mapani wood. I like the texture of this wood. You can see it's like has lots of like a grains on it, and you don't have it to soak it in the water or touch any stone. It's very heavy. It sank by itself, so that's what I like about that. So let's just glue some of the Anubis plants with super glue on this wood, and it should look nice. And then we can put it at the back of the tank right there. Yeah, let's do it. And guys, to attach the Anubis to the piece of wood, I'm going to use just a regular super glue, and I also have a spray activator. It's just to helps the glue to cure very fast. So I'm going to apply a little bit of super glue on Anubis, like so. Not too much, just a little. If you apply too much, it's going to be seen afterwards. It's going to be white spots, so I want to avoid it. So you see, I'm going to spray a little bit, and it's dry completely. Now it's cured already. I'm going to use some water just to spray on the plant, just make sure we keep them wet. Alright, it actually looks better than expected. It looks a bit bushy. There's quite a lot of Anubis on this wood. So yeah, let's put it in the tank. I think it's going to look cool in the tank. I also want to put this little ceramic pot in the tank and put some plants in it. I think it's gonna look cool. Like for instance, here in my shrimp having tank, I have a little ceramic pot at the back of the tank. You can see shrimps absolutely love it. They always graze on it. I think it's a good place to grow the biofilm as well, this ceramic. And you can see it's a nice Ludwigia super red plant growing from this pot. And I think we need to give it a little trim because it's way too long. So whatever we left for trimming, we can use it in our new setup. I think that would be a good idea. And here we have our Hydrocotyle Japan, and it's growing fantastic here. You can see it's stretching all the way right to this point, about to the front of the tank. That's very nice. The plant's growing fantastic here in this tank. It's relatively new setup. It's probably about 2 months old or so. So you can see we have our HC Cuba here growing like we have CO2 in the tank. And some people actually asking me if I have CO2 in my setups. No, I don't have it. And why we have such insane plant growth? Because we have a nice soil which is rich in minerals, and nice light as well. And look at this Phasidens moss here. I think we're gonna use this arch in our new setup because we have a brand new here. So that's gonna be growing soon and gonna be like that. So shrimps absolutely love it. You see the shrimps all over the plants, and they like this algae as well. You can see the grazing on the glass as well. So now let's trim that Ludwigia super red, and then we can use the trimming to replant it in new tank. Let's do it. Here you go, guys, take a look inside this beautiful tank. It's been around 1 week since my last update, and I did a few final preparations for shrimps. I did a massive water change, about 90%, and I also scraped all the algae from the glass. You can see this tank is nice and clean now. It's look much better now. And take a look at this Ludwigia Super Red in this little ceramic pot. It stretched a little bit from my last update. It's also so bright and red, guys. It's growing like we have a CO2 injection in this tank. But of course we don't have CO2, we just have a good light and soil rich of nutrients, and that's all you need basically to grow this very red Ludwigia Super Red. I also moved a piece of wood with Busifalandra on it. This came from my other tank and I absolutely love Busifalandra. And here we have a perfect amount of plants in this tank. We still have a plenty of empty spaces to see the shrimp, and we also can provide shrimp some hiding spaces. They like to hang upside down under these coconut shells and they feel safe there. They also like to graze on the plants, of course, and the plants adding a lot of surface area to your tank for biofilm and algae to grow, and the little babies can get into these little holes, little cracks, and always find some food there, because adult shrimps won't get access to this food. They're too big to get inside there. So this little aquascape works absolutely perfect for Caridina shrimp. And guys, here's my latest shrimp tank setup with beautiful crazy blue shrimp. I just want to show you one more time of this beautiful shrimp and just give you a quick update on this tank. As you can see, we have some breeding activity today already. Some males already start to chase the female. You can see some males there. They try to find a female and mate with her. And the plants in this tank doing absolutely great. Take a look. Oh, that's some breeding activity there at the back. I think that's our female there. You just saw that, yeah, guys. So hopefully we're gonna see a berry female very soon. Yeah, I was talking about the plants. Take a look at them there. They're very healthy. I really like how green is the Elycharis mini and this healthy Ratala bonsai. Very happy with this plant growth. It's going to be the same in our new setup. At this moment they don't look very good, but in a few weeks they're going to be the same. If you're an experienced shrimp keeper, you might be familiar with this problem. When the population of your shrimp colony grows to a certain number and then at some point it doesn't grow anymore, this happens because the shrimp have a sense of how crowded is your tank, and if there are too many shrimp around, they start to be less prolific. Because in nature, overpopulation means less available food, so shrimp instinctively stop breeding to protect themselves from lack of food. It also works another way around, and over the years I've noticed that if there are only a few shrimp in the tank, they seem to start breeding much faster, and most of the big breeders use it to their advantage. And if you look at the tanks, they only have a small group of shrimps in each tank, like 10 or 20 shrimps, and they don't let the population grow, and when the shrimp start to breed, they separate all the babies and move them to the different tanks. It is also important to have the right male to female ratio for Caridina shrimp if you want to have a great success. The good ratio is 1 male to 4 females, so that's why many breeders have a male tank where they dump all unwanted males. Most of you probably know that shrimp only breed once the female molts, because her new shell is very soft and males can penetrate it, which makes fertilization possible. So once female molts, males start to chase it and try to mate with her, and if you have too many males, the females have a very hard time escaping from males after they molt. Guys, I'm personally not a professional breeder, I'm only a hobbyist, and I normally don't separate my males from the tanks, and I often witness a very brutal events when males chase a female and then female become exhausted and the males catch her at the very end and eat her. And over the time I'm losing a lot of females in my tanks because of that. I'm definitely going to take care of this problem in the near future and create a male tank, but for now I want to separate most of the babies from my tanks to prevent overpopulation. I'm going to catch them all now and move them to the new tank we just built. Enough talking, let's do it now. Alright guys, take a look at the baby shrimp here in this jug. Let me show you them quickly. Let me just move this away from reflection. And here you go. Have you ever seen so many baby shrimp in one place? I have never seen that before. We've got here around 300 of shrimplets. Most of them are Galaxy Pintas, some of them Galaxy Tigers, a few blue bolties and red bolties. I've got all of them from some of my tanks on my rack and I already drip acclimated them to the new environment and they're ready to go to the new home. So enough talking, let's put them in. Alright, exciting moment. Let it rain shrimp. Wow. Take a look at this. That's insane. Guys, we have so many shrimplets here and they are everywhere. This is the perfect size for the shrimp tank, and 300 shrimp can fit here without any problems. The smaller tanks are good for selective breeding or small size colonies, but I don't do much selective breeding and I like to have a lot of shrimps in my tanks. That's why this tank size works perfect for me. And guys, I already did this experiment a couple years ago when I separate some babies from the adults, and I noticed that they grow much faster when you do that. So this is another good reason to create a nursery tank for my shrimplets. Now I'm gonna leave the shrimps alone for a couple of weeks and I'm not gonna feed them. I'm gonna let them graze on the biofilm and algae, which we have plenty in this tank. A very quick update on my crazy blue tank. It's been about 2 weeks since my last update when we saw that breeding activity, and I've checked this tank today and I found not one, not two, guys, 6 buried females. That's awesome news. This is what I was talking about, the shrimp breeding much faster in the smaller groups. I have the same great result in my other tank with 25 fancy tiger, and now it's almost every female buried there. That's insane. So now it's been 2 weeks since we added shrimps here in this tank, so let's check on them, see how they're doing, and also give them some food because I think they're quite hungry already. Hey guys, check this tank out. I'm so pleased with this. This tank is doing absolutely fantastic. The plants are thriving, the shrimps are doing great, and take a look at this Rotala bonsai with HC Cuba here. They look so green and they're just growing insane here. You can see the HC Cuba already started to send some runners down from that pocket. And on another side we have our Eleotine hydropiper with a little bit of hair grass, and this plant is doing absolutely great here. You can see it's much better than the last time. Last time we saw some like a little bit yellowing and not much plants. Now it starts to multiply like a crazy and it starts to get more green, and you can see we have some roots there as well. It's growing absolutely fantastic. I don't know guys, is it only me, but I feel like I'm in love with this Rotala bonsai and HC Cuba plant, and the combination of both is just driving me crazy. I can look at this for hours guys. This is the most favorite tank at this moment for sure, because of the size of it, and also beautiful plants here and lots of tiny shrimps here, different colors, different patterns. Wherever you look you will see the shrimp here, so this is why I like this tank. I'm watching this for hours, like every day. And guys, if you remember before, the shrimps are cleaning the glass from dust algae, and after 2 weeks you can see we have plenty of dust algae already grown on the glass, so that was absolutely fine to do that. And you can see the shrimps absolutely love it, they like to graze on it. But the problem is that we have here also unwanted friends, freshwater limpets. I hate them guys, they just get in all my tanks. They are like little scrapers. Alright guys, enough talking, let's give our shrimp the very first feeding in this tank.